His hand was already under her skirt when she started to beg him to stop. Her breathing was fast and scared. The black fabric of her habit was bunched in this fist. Her skin felt warm against his hand. "It ripped. You didn't respect my purity." Then he saw the blood. Her voice broke on the word purity. It sounded like a prayer and a blame at the same time. Out here on the empty fields, it sounded like a secret no one should hear. Jacob Callahan stopped moving. Dust hurt his eyes. Sweat rolled down his back. From far away, this looked exactly like a sin. A rancher on his knees near a nun. Her head was down, her dress was pulled up. Her body was shaking in the hot summer heat. If anyone rode up right now, he could not explain it. He forced himself to breathe slowly. His hand was caught between the torn cloth and her shaking skin. His fingers pressed just above the deep cut on her leg. Blood was leaking through the torn dress and falling into the dust. If you tear this cloth any more, she might lose her leg. If you stop now, she might lose her life. He swallowed hard and looked only at the wound. He did not look at her skin or how she moved in pain. He had seen men badly hurt in the war, but he had never felt this kind of shame in his heart. "Listen to me, sister. If I don't get this cloth loose, it will hurt you more when you try to stand." Her fingers dug into the dirt. Her rosary beads made a soft sound against the wooden barrel she had fallen on. Only then did his mind understand what he had first seen when he found her. A broken path, a mark from a wheel in the dust, broken wood, and an overturned barrel that had fallen from a passing coach. And her, Sister Elena Maris, thrown like cargo onto the side of the road, hours from Dodge City, alone in the burning summer sun. He had ridden up thinking she was dead. Then he saw her chest moving. He saw the blood on her leg. He saw how the black cloth was stuck to the wound. So he had dropped to his knees, took out his knife, and tried to cut the cloth away from the skin. The fabric was stuck with dried blood until he pulled hard and it tore. Rip! That was when she woke up and looked at him with wild, frightened eyes. Jacob finally pulled his hand back. His fingers were covered in her blood. His heart was beating fast like a guilty man caught doing something wrong. On this empty trail in the summer of 1885, with no witnesses except God and the birds circling above, what story would people tell about what he had just done? Jacob pushed the worry away. He acted like a soldier facing trouble. He wiped her blood on his trousers, put his knife away, and spoke calmly. "All right, sister, we are getting you out of this." He could have left her there and pretended he never saw her. No one would have known. But instead, he put his arm around her. Her head rested against his chest. She was light, but every time he moved her leg, she gasped and grabbed his shirt. "Please, don't touch me there."
He almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but to stop himself from swearing at the sky in frustration. "Ma'am, I am 50 miles from a doctor and you are bleeding. If I wanted to hurt your owner, I wouldn't have bothered to save you." She relaxed just a little, enough for him to lift her. He carried her to his horse. The hot sun beat down on his neck. He had pulled calves out of mud and helped drunk cowboys out of ditches, but a wounding nun? That was a new kind of challenge. He put her on the saddle sideways and held her steady. He could feel every shiver and hear every whisper of prayer as the horse started toward Dodge City. By the time they reached the town, the situation looked bad enough to get him hanged. A middle-aged rancher, dusty and tired, with a young woman in black leaning against him, her dress torn and her skin dirty. People on the sidewalks turned to stare. Of course they did. Be honest, if you saw them ride in like that, what story would you imagine? Jacob felt their eyes watching him. He rode straight to the stable, then to the doctor, giving short answers before anyone could ask questions. Found her on the trail, stagecoach marks in the dirt, no driver, no passengers, just her. Inside the small office that smelled of medicine, the doctor cleaned the cut and wrapped her leg. He said it was a miracle she was still alive. While he worked, Sister Elena watched Jacob. She looked confused, as if she couldn't decide if he was her hero or just a man who got caught. News traveled fast. By sunset, the saloon was full of talk. Some said Jacob dragged a nun into town. Others said he found her that way. Everyone agreed on one thing. A nun with a torn dress at a lonely ranch was a crazy story. In the corner of the saloon, drinking cheap whiskey, two dusty strangers listened to every word. When they heard about the nun, they smiled like men who'd just got a second chance at easy money. These two men were not strangers to Sister Elena or the broken barrel on the road. Cole Maddox smiled when he heard someone mention a nun with a torn dress found near a broken trail. "That is her," Cole whispered to his partner.
Jeb Coulter put his drink down hard. "I watched her fall off that road like a heavy bag of flour. Cole, she should be dead by now." "Well, look at that," Cole answered. "Mercy rides a horse in Dodge City. Callahan, I know that name. Old soldier. Has a ranch west of town." He smiled cruelly. "If the law asks about that stagecoach robbery, that little nun is the only witness who can ruin us. We have to go get her." They were not talking about rescuing her. They were talking about hiding their crimes before the law found out. While they planned, Jacob was already riding away from town with Sister Elena. The doctor wanted her to stay in town, but the lady at the boarding house saw the torn dress and refused to give her a room. "No room for trouble, mister." So Jacob did the only right thing. He brought her home. The Callahan Ranch sat in a valley of dry grass and old trees. It was a small house with faded white paint, a leaning barn, and a dusty fence. It wasn't much, but it was his. He carried her inside and put her on the bed that once belonged to his wife. The room smelled of old soap and wood. A faded dress still hung on the wall. He saw Elena looking at it. "I will sleep in the chair," he said quickly. "The door stays open, I promise." She nodded, holding the blanket to her throat. "I don't doubt your promise, Mr. Callahan. I just don't understand why you would risk your reputation for a woman people are already judging." He gave a tired smile. "Ma'am, folks around here have judged me since the war. Let 'em talk. I would rather they gossip than see you die out on the trail." Outside, the evening became quiet. Inside, the clock ticked. For the first time in years, Jacob heard another voice in his house, a soft prayer in Latin as the nun thanked God for letting her live. Outside the fence, two riders watched from a hill. Cole spat in the dirt. "There it is, Jeb. Callahan Ranch. We ride in tomorrow, act friendly, and take back what the trail tried to steal from us." Now let me ask you this. If you were alone on that ranch when those two men rode in, what would you do? If you are still here, take a breath, sip your coffee or tea, and stay with this story. If you want more stories like this, you can subscribe so you don't miss the next part. And while you listen, tell me in the comments what time it is for you right now and where in the world you're listening from. Morning came early at Callahan Ranch. So did trouble. Jacob was working in the yard when he saw two riders coming slowly along the fence. They moved like men who were watching everything. Sister Elena watched from the porch, holding the railing to steady herself. Her leg still hurt, but the bandage was clean. She wore the same black dress, now sewn and washed, though the tear was still slightly visible. "Those men from the road," she whispered. "The ones who robbed the coach." He looked into the sun. "Could be. They look like men who never paid for anything they own." Cole Maddox raised a hand to say hello. He smiled with dirty teeth. "Morning, neighbor. My name is Cole. My friend here is Jeb. We are riding through looking for a lost friend." He pointed his hat toward Elena. "That little lady in black belongs to the church. Fell off a coach out on the trail. You haven't seen anyone like that, have you?"
Jacob knew it changed the mood. He put his pitchfork in the dirt and walked closer to the porch, standing between them and the nun.
"Found a woman on the trail yesterday," he said. "Saw signs of a stagecoach. No driver, no other bodies. Just her and a broken barrel. If she was with you, you left her to die." Jeb moved nervously in his saddle. Cole just smiled wider. "You know how it is out here, friend. Things happen fast. Sometimes folks fall behind. We just came to collect what is ours." Elena stepped down onto the stairs, holding the railing tight. "I am not yours," she said. "You robbed those people. You meant to sell me. You left me for dead." The polite atmosphere vanished. Hate filled Cole's eyes. Then he shrugged and laughed. "Seems the lady has a strong imagination. We will be back in town if she changes her mind." They turned their horses and rode off. But Jacob knew men like that didn't give up easily. They circled. They waited. The rest of the day passed slowly. Elena insisted on helping in the kitchen, even though she limped. She stood by the window, sewing her dress. "Why did you leave your old life, Mr. Callahan?" she asked without looking up. He poured coffee into 2 cups. "Lost my wife to sickness. Lost my boys before that. The army took the best parts of me. The graveyards took the rest. Out here it's just me, the cattle, and whatever God hasn't taken yet." She looked up, and her eyes were soft but serious. "You saved me when the road tried to kill me. Maybe God left you that task." Her words felt heavy. He felt the pain in his chest, the old sadness he had buried. He also felt the weight of her religious vows. One wrong step now and he wouldn't just break her heart, he would break the only promise she had left to God. Outside, the sky turned dark. Somewhere nearby, 2 men were planning how to come back, without smiling this time. When the shooting finally started at Callahan Ranch, it wasn't the cattle or the house they wanted. It was the woman who dared to say she wasn't theirs. The first shot was loud in the evening air. Jacob was near the barn when a bullet hit the doorframe near his head. "Get down, sister!" He didn't have to say it twice. Sister Elena dropped behind a heavy table, holding her rosary and her bandaged leg. Through the window, she saw Cole and Jeb hiding behind the water trough. "Come on out, Callahan!" Cole yelled. "We just want what belongs to us." Jacob answered with his rifle. The shot hit the trough, spraying water. Jeb swore and ducked. "This is my land, my house," Jacob shouted. "You already left one good woman in the dirt. You are not taking another." Elena felt every word. She knew that staying hidden meant she would be safe, but Jacob might die trying to protect her. That thought hurt worse than her leg. She grabbed an oil lamp and limped toward the door. Jacob turned, his eyes wide. "Get back, sister!" "No, you didn't leave me on that road. I will not leave you in this yard." She stepped onto the porch, holding the lamp high. The sudden light shone in Cole's eyes just as he stood up to aim. He flinched, and his shot went wide. Jacob fired in that split second of surprise. The bullet hit Cole's shoulder and knocked him down. Jeb dropped his gun and surrendered. The sheriff and his men were already riding up the lane, attracted by the noise. By the time the dust settled, Cole and Jeb were in chains, and the Callahan Ranch was quiet again. A few days later, a priest came with news. A wagon was going to Santa Fe. The mission still needed Sister Elena. The church would take her. The town would be glad to see the story end cleanly. At the gate, Jacob helped her into the wagon. Her dress was fixed now. Her leg was stiff but healing. She looked down at him and spoke softly so only he could hear. "It ripped that day, Jacob. My dress
and my certainty, but you never touched what wasn't yours to take." He smiled, looking tired but honest. "You walked through fire and kept your soul. That is your doing, not mine." As the wagon rolled away toward Santa Fe, both of them knew they cared for each other in a way that could not exist under the same roof. Sometimes respecting love means keeping it pure. Sometimes the bravest thing it can do is protect someone, then step back and let them walk their own path. So, let me ask you, have you ever had to let go of someone for their own good, even when your heart wanted to hold on? If this story gave you something to think about, tap like so more people can find it. If you want to hear more forgotten tales from the Old West, you can subscribe and join me for the next story. While you listen, pour yourself a quiet cup of coffee or tea. Take a breath and tell me in the comments what time it is for you right now and where in the world you are listening from.